Right, we're going. How you doing, Carol? How's things?
I'm good, thanks very much. Nice to speak to you.
Honestly, Carol, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. As I say to everybody, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. It's the best gift we can give anybody.
You're very welcome.
And so, Legends Life Story, it's basically just about sharing stories, maybe stuff that we've faced in our lives that we think maybe would help others to overcome similar problems, no problems or life issues, do you know what I mean? And I'd just love to ask you a wee bit about your story, please, Carol.
Right, on you go. Where would you like to start? What do you want to know?
I just listen. Anything that you think that comes to mind, you go, like, do you know what? I faced that, and it was a struggle, and this is how I dealt with it. Because in life, our struggles and our things that we have to overcome are guiding us. Well, I believe that anyway. I believe that they're guiding us. We don't always see it at the time when we're living in that moment.
Well, I think I've been guided my entire life without knowing it or without realising it. You know, I first started seeing spirit as a child, as a young child. You know, my job these days, I'm a spiritual medium and I connect in with the other side and I see spirit in my mind's eye, or sometimes I see them with my eyes, or I sense them, or all different ways I connect in. You know, I've always seen spirit since I was a child, and I thought that was something that everybody done. You know, I thought that was something that we all done it, and I didn't realise that that wasn't normal. So I just thought everybody woke up in the morning, there was spirit beside them, and they went in the bed at night, and people walked through your room. Even though I was shitting myself as a child, I thought that was normal. You know, that must have been something that happened to everybody, and it wasn't. And I think that my whole life journey has brought me to where I am today, because as I look back in your life, you can see how far you've came, but you can also see how the trials and tribulations have made you into the person that you are today. So I was the oldest in my family, and my mum and dad separated when I was about 10 year old, and they separated for like a year or so and then get back together. But during that year, I was the person that had to step up and make the dinners and do the washings because my mammy wasn't there, and it was my dad that looked after us. And so I was always kind of felt as if I was mammy of the family anyway, you know. And so I always done something off my own back. I'm self-taught in everything I do. And so I think that my mum leaving at that time was I taught myself how to cook. You know, I taught myself how to look after myself. And then as the years gone, do you know what a CB radio is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Or an
scanner.
amateur radio? Well, I'm a radio ham. I'm a licensed radio ham. So I've got a UK government license to transmit all around the world and talk to whoever I like. So I've done that since I was a teenager as well. And so everything I believe is on a frequency. And so me doing that for the age of 13, 14, and then progressing into amateur radio, when I look back today, I think, oh, that's why I done that. Because now when I teach mediumship as if we're all on a frequency, we're all on a vibration. So I teach that like the amateur radio. So when somebody says to me, how do you connect in with spirit? I says, well, you know, it's just like lifting your vibration. So if you imagine that you're a radio and you're just tuning into a certain frequency, and that's a simple way of explaining it. So what I'm trying to say is, as you look back in your life, everything you've learned comes into play.
Yep, I agree.
You know, and even at the age of 16, and I never got on with my mum because she was in and out the house and different stuff. But even at the age of 16, I had my own house. So I left my house just before my 16th birthday. I got my own house when I was 16. And nowadays, I can't imagine my children having their own house at 16. You know, they can't hardly wipe their own fucking face when they're 26, never mind 16. And so at 16, I got my own house and nobody bought me anything. You know, nobody bought me a double bed or a blanket or a towel or a washing machine, whereas I would help my children these days and buy them beds and whatever. Nobody bought me a thing. So I moved into my first house and I had managed to get a single bed and a cooker, and that was me. I was all right. You know,
Yeah.
and I then built up my house. So I think as I've went through my life, I've done everything by myself. I've fought to get to where I am. And I think all these things that happen in your life teach you that life their life skills. You know, it's like kids these days are still staying with their parents when they're 30. You know, it's like 30-year-old, I had two wains, a mortgage and a car, you know, and it's like these days they're still out doing the pub and no one to give you dig money, you know, it's just mad. And so I think a lot of people around about me died when they were young as well. My mum went on to die, she was only 46 when she passed away. And my brother was only 34 when he passed away. And so these are major life things that happen. I've had good friends that have died at 16, in their 20s. Loads of people died under 50. And so I was I think you learn to experience grief at an early age, you know. And so I've also got no fear of death whatsoever because I've died twice and came back. I had meningitis when I was 8 year old. And at that time, I was in a coma. I died, and then they brought me back. And I had the worst case of meningitis. I had meningococcal meningitis, and I had septicemia, where I had all the purple spots. And they told my mum if I ever woke up, they didn't think I was going to pull through. But if I did, I might have been in a vegetative state, and they might have to cut my limbs off because you know that sometimes, unfortunately, because of the blood poisoning, what they need to do to children.
Yeah.
And of course, they never, and I'm here to tell the tale this time. So while that was happening to me, while I was in a coma, I met my angel for the very first time. There was a woman with me, and she looked like an angel. And she says to me that I was just to stay here and play, and that I was going back and I wasn't staying. And so I knew I wasn't dying, but I had no fear of death because it felt like the best place in the world to be. You know, the only thing I felt was absolute love when I moved over to heaven or spirit or whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, I think I was in a coma for about 3 days, my mum told me. And eventually I came back and I woke up, and I now have no fear of death because I know that we're going to a much better place.
Oh wow. Wow, Carol. Gosh, like there's I could similarities I feel with you as well. Like, even like I was the same as that as well. 16, you're standing on your own 2 feet, and it's difficult at the time, and the thought that you're doing it alone as well at that age, again when you're living it, it's difficult. But look what it's taught you. Look what it's led you. Do you know what I mean that on that journey?
I think the biggest fear for me was it a fear? I've never really had fear in my life. I think the biggest fear I've got right now is losing your children. That's about the biggest fear, and about the only fear I have in my life, you know, that's about it. Your nearest and dearest, I would say. But I think as a 16-year-old child, adolescent, I should have been shit scared. You know, I stayed in a bottom flat. I got a bottom flat in quite a notorious area. But because I was from there, it didn't really matter, you know. And so I think my first few nights in the house in a single bed with nothing but a cooker, and like, oh my god, how am I going to get everything I need? And then it eventually just all happened. But I think the biggest fear was like somebody breaking into your house or something like that. But I didn't care because in that house, for some reason, I felt safe.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be okay, you know. And the only people I had fear of were the people that were living and know the dead, you
Yeah.
know. But I think I've always done things by myself, and that's brought me to where I am today.
It's, as I said, like we'll go through these things, and you commented as well. And it's guiding us and teaching us, but that's amazing to have that even at that young age. That no fear and knowing that you can do it. Do you know what I mean? Because I mean, you don't have the fear. It's confidence and it's building that as well.
It's absolute confidence. Confidence is massive. See, if you've got confidence, you can rule the world. You can do what you like. And I've always had bags of confidence, even at school when I was at school when I was younger, even primary school. You know how teachers would tell you to put your hand up if you had a question, or they were asking you a question like, "Oh fuck, can't I answer?" And I didn't care. I
Really?
did not care. So if I didn't know something and I was learning something, I was always putting my hand up. You know, I don't know how to do this. You need to show me. Whereas everybody else would be like, "Oh, I'm not asking her." Whereas I'd be like, "Look, you need to show me how this works." And so I've always had bags of confidence. I don't know if it stems from then, or whether it stems, do you know, even thinking back to my earliest childhood memories, I think I've always been confident. I've always been a confident soul, which is
Yeah.
unusual in itself, right? But you know, sometimes people can get confidence mixed up with arrogance, and it's no, it's absolutely no. I've just got the biggest pair of balls ever. You know, it's like I don't care, you know, and so I kind of think that sometimes life's too short, and you just need to say it as it is.
Definitely. I think a lot of people, when they see people that's super confident, it's a wee bit of jealous as well because people want to do stuff, people want to go out there and when they see,
Well, I've had a couple of people tell me that they're like, "You're quite a scary woman." And I'm like, "Are you joking?" They're like, "No." They're like,
uh,
"'Cause you're pure confident. You just say this and you just say that. People can be intimidated by you." And I'm like, "Are you joking?" And they're like, "No." And so sometimes that can happen as well.
no, definitely. It's because you like, the only thing for coming from my perspective is like, when people are confident, it kind of makes you shrink a wee bit, I'd say so. You can feed off it, you can turn that around, you can feed off it, do you know what I mean? Like you can learn from it, and that's what I'm finding as well. When you're speaking to confident people, it's giving you that boost, and it shouldn't kind of put you out of your shell. It should be the opposite, you
You
know?
know, I always sometimes at my live events, my shows, I have a VIP session, and at the end, I have a question answering session for the VIPs, and I always say to them, right, you know, this session is all about asking me questions. Anything you want to know about the spirit world, ask me, and if I don't know, then I'll fucking Google it, you know, like that, and that always gets a wee laugh. Touch wood, but in all the years so far that I've done that, I've never had to use Google for fuck all. You
Uh,
know, it's always just the right answers come out at the right time. And I've also saw people putting on when they put your feedback for some of your shows, it's a wee bit like, "Oh, I love the question and answering session. She really knows what she's talking about. She knows her stuff." And I'm like, all right, okay. So there's nothing. Sometimes people come out with a question that you're no expecting or you've no heard before, but the majority of times, no, because I've been doing it so long. I feel as if I know most of the questions. You know, I've been asked them before, but sometimes there's somebody comes in and just flings a cat amongst the pigeons, and they're always good to try and get the answer to that. You know, but I've
yeah,
always been confident.
that's amazing. And yeah, as you said, if you're confident, you can pretty much do anything. And confidence starts in the mind as well. Like, people need to know that they've got that power to change their lives. It starts with how they think. You can think your life better, and it's true.
I think it's good to bring up your children as being confident children, though, because you know I think it does start in your childhood. Childhood can sometimes make you or break you. You know, if you've not had an easy childhood or you've had parents that's not been your favourite person, that can be an obstacle in itself.
Yeah.
So I think for me, my mum and dad always thought I was clever. And maybe because they thought I was clever, I thought I was clever. You know, and it's maybe because they said things like, "Oh, you know, you can do anything. Oh, you're dead good at that." Well, maybe I just believed that to be the case. And so maybe being the oldest as well, they expect a bit more from you.
Yeah.
Whereas the person that's the child, or the Wayne, as we call it,
Yeah.
is always the one that's can do whatever the fuck they like and they're left to their own devices, really, aren't they?
Coddled almost. But no, 100%. Like I think being the oldest, you do get that added responsibility. I'm the oldest as well. You do feel like, as you say, like oh, you're almost like a bit act like a parent almost as well because you're up because you've kind of got that wee bit more obviously experience and stuff, and you're trying to guide them. Obviously, siblings don't want to always listen. You know what I mean?
No,
But
no.
but
I
no,
remember I remember one time I was playing Trivial Pursuit. I don't know if it was Christmas or something like that, just after. Anyway, we're playing Trivial Pursuit in the house, my mum and dad and my siblings, myself. And I remember all these questions came out and I knew the answers to them all right, even though I was so young. I still to this day don't know how. And when it got to them answering questions, they didn't have a clue. And I remember sitting there as a 10-year-old child, always feeling like the mammy in the house, as I says, and thinking to myself, yous are all thick as fuck. You know, it's like, how did I even end up in this family? But I remember I said that to my dad years later, right? And it was maybe even a few years ago. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said to him, I said, Dad, I always thought yous were all thick as fuck because I always knew the questions and yous didn't. He's like, oh, don't talk rubbish, don't talk rubbish, you know. And I always kid him on about it. I was like, Dad, I think I was swapped at birth. Because you know I don't look like any use and I'm far too intelligent. And he just laughs at, you know, he just laughs it off. But I did feel like that for a while.
When it comes to kind of like this, like when knowing the answers and stuff like that, do you think it's to do with the psychic as well and being in tune and just maybe
I
always
think it
listening?
I think it can be. So like if we're sitting having a normal conversation, and you're thinking, oh, I've just applied for this job, I wonder if I'll get it. And I'm like, ah, you'll get it, you'll get an answer next week in the post. You know, that fucking helps, you know. And so sometimes these things happen as well, or these things come out like that. So sometimes an everyday conversation can happen. But most of the time I don't remember what I say anyway. A lot of people come in, they're like, oh, you know, you told me I was going to have a wee boy the following year, and I told you I couldn't because, like, I've had IVF and I'm not getting it again, and I fell pregnant. And you're like, wow, you know, things like that happen. And it's weird. A lot of the times I just don't remember what I say. So when clients say to me, you told me this and it came true, I don't even remember. I don't even remember them. I don't even remember saying it. No, it's not my messages. I don't ever really retain it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And listen, you must talk to so many people and get many people coming in and out of your lives and through your life as well. And I love what you're saying there. I didn't quite get that. I suppose it's know your message, and that's cool. It's like you almost like you're the
It's
vessel.
not. So it's like, you know, we have our own memories, like when you get married, when you have your children, when you get your new job, when you get your first car, what kind of car it was. You can probably even remember the registration because I can, right? So you remember all these lifetime, you know, like big things that happen within your life. And so that's our memories. So if I'm doing you a reading of like, oh, your first car was a green car, and I'm just seeing like a wee green Maestro or something like that, and you're like, fucking hell, I had a green Maestro. I don't then see you 6 years later and go, oh, mind that green Maestro you had, because that's no my mess. I couldn't retain all that in there, you know, so it's no my messages. And sometimes, like when I come out of shows, somebody will say things like, oh, you wanted to speak to me private. That happened the other night. You wanted to speak to me in private because there's something that came through you didn't want to say in public. What was it? And I'm like, who are you? You know, so I could have spoke to this lady or gentleman during my show half an hour ago, and I can't remember what I've said.
It's so much, as you said, you kind of get talking to so many people, and it's probably coming through at that time. I'd imagine it kind of come and go depending on where you are or who you're with, you know.
It does. Like if I'm doing a show and I'm on stage, it's fleeting. It's fleeting thoughts. You know, it's a thought coming in one ear and straight out the other. You
Yeah.
know, and I don't remember it. And it's as simple as that. I can't retain it. It's like my memory as I get older is not so good anyway. And I think the more I work with spirit, the worse my memory's getting.
So you say it kind of comes and goes. Can you tune back in again with the person? No tune. Well, I suppose tune. Can you tune back in with the person again, or is it just at that moment how it feels? You know.
At that moment, how it feels, you know, it's very rarely that after a show somebody will come up and say, oh, what was it you wanted to tell me about my brother, and then I bring the brother back in. That won't happen. Once
Oh,
I'm finished, you know. And so until I step on it, all mediums are different, right? A lot of mediums walk about Asda, bump into people and go like, oh, your dad's here. I would never do that because I feel that is an intrusion in your privacy. And so I'm not the kind of medium that would ever do that. Until I walk up on that stage, there is nobody beside me. So I
yeah.
walk up on that stage and I open my mind up to the spirit world. And see, when I leave that stage, there's nobody behind me. There's nobody coming off that stage. I'm done. So see, when I go into the toilet or something and somebody's like, oh, I never get a message tonight. Can you see anything about me? No, kind of fuck, I'm done. Is the answer to that. And so I tend to avoid I tend to avoid, and they're like, all right then. And that's probably when people get she's arrogant for. But when I'm done, I'm done. And I do explain that when I'm on the stage. Until I stand up here, there's nobody here. I'm not one of the mediums that has wee Jimmy hanging about with them all day. And once I leave the stage, there's nobody there. You know, I'm going home myself. I'm not taking any spirits home with me. You know, and I always make them aware of that. So I'm really, when it comes to mediumship, I'm really disciplined in my mediumship. So it's like open, shut.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, Carol. I was going to say that, like, when it comes to like the mediumship and the psychic and stuff like that, do you feel like you did say it there? You actually have to open up your mind, because do
I
you
do.
believe?
It's like flicking on a switch. So, you know, now I've got to the stage where I can just flick on the switch and switch it off. And so that's what I do. I flick it on and I flick it off. But you couldn't possibly be walking about reading people all day. It wouldn't be good for your mental health, and it would just deplete your energy. So how
Yeah,
these mediums, or kid-on mediums I call them, can do that fucking is beyond me. You know, it's beyond me. But everybody works different, you know, although I'm having a laugh and I carry on. So that's how I work. I'm extremely disciplined. But other mediums may work differently. Maybe they've got more energy than me, who knows? But I can do shows back to back, and I know what it takes to do these shows, you know, and how to maintain that level. Because a lot of people may strive to get to my level. Because if you imagine there's 10,000 mediums in the UK, there probably is quite easily. You know, there's only half a dozen at the top of their game.
yeah.
And so, in order to get to that level and maintain that level, and fire out message after message after message and fill places, you need to be decent. You know, you need to be decent. You can't just make it up, especially in Glasgow, because they'll tell you you're shite and get to fuck off the stage and don't come back.
Get out of here. Can you just, do you feel like you can tell the difference, Carol? Can you see someone and tell, like, do you know what they're at it here?
Absolutely. There's somebody on TikTok right now who's got a big following, and he's at it.
Yeah, you can just tell, like, you can tune into that.
I know, because I know what it takes to get to my level and how to maintain it,
Yeah,
right? So if something seems too good, so the other night I done a show and I'm like that. Oh, your mum's here. My mum's here. Your dad's here. He's giving me the 9th of May. Oh my god, that was the day he died, right? So you can say that, but you're no. I don't know any medium that can turn around and say, well, your mum died on the 14th of July, your dad died on the 9th of August, and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that will happen through a message, and you'll get it so bang on, it's scary accurate, right? But if you're banging out 20 messages in the one night, not every one of them is going to be, oh, your dad's here, his name's Harry, he died on the 11th of July, and he's with your mum Sandra, and she died on the 14th. Two of them died at 2 o'clock, and their national insurance number was LM69. Now that's just taking the absolute fucking Michael, you
aye,
know?
aye.
And so there is somebody who's a wee bit like that on social media now.
Okay. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like just because
I
that's,
feel I feel it's a slap in the face for the spirit world.
I think that as well. And it's the same like what we do in the life coaching as well. You can see people are in it for the money. You know what I mean? They're doing it for the wrong reasons. One minute they're keen on this message, and then the next minute they're opening shops and selling merchandise and stuff like that. And you're like, hold on a minute, what about your purpose here? Are you forgetting about that? So yeah, I get that as well. It pisses me off a bit as well. But people will be people, eh? If there's money to be made, they'll.
Well, I think when it comes down to money, people are often scared of money, jealous of money, don't want money, or keep too much money. You know, you have different characters and they react differently. The way I
Mm,
see money now has absolutely totally changed. I see it as paper, I see it as an exchange. So I don't think, and I'm making this up, I don't think to myself, oh, I've got 5 grand in the bank. Oh, I need to watch what I'm doing with that. And I don't think I've got 50 grand, or I need to make another 50. I just don't think about it. You know, I just, I think money should just flow to you.
yeah. No, definitely.
That's That's the way I think. And so I think it's just an exchange. And I think if you work for Spirit, they'll take care of you.
Because like when it comes to money as well, like or anything in life that you're searching for, or you think that's what you want, it's not always the case. You know what I mean? It's like you get there and you're like, I've wasted all this time and I'm here and it's not anywhere near what I wanted it to be or I thought it would be.
Well, I think when we're in your 20s, you kind of strive to have a better house and maybe a nice partnership and maybe end up having nice wains. And then you want to buy a bigger house. And then you want your wains to have nice stuff and you want your house to be like a show house. And that's in your 30s. And then maybe in your 40s, you're still working. And as you get into your mid 40s, you're like, "Do you know, fuck it, let's go out in the boat. Fuck it, let's go out a walk. We'll do the dishes and we come back." You know, that's how I would have been growing up. And it was a wee bit like, I had this show house and I wanted everything to be perfect. And then you get to the stage where you realise that life's too short and you should be like having a good balance and enjoying your life and no missing your life. And so, as I say to you, my brother died and he was only 34. And I think when he died, his name was Colin. I think when Colin died, I was a wee bit like, you know what, fuck it, life's too short. And up until that point, I would never get up and sing in a karaoke because my dad always used to tell me that I couldn't sing and I was shite at it.
Mm.
And so when my brother died, that was about the only thing that I wouldn't do. And I think when he died after that, I was like, "Do you know what? Fuck it, life's too short. See if I'm shite, so fuck." And I got up in front of a mic and I started singing and I never stopped.
No, see, it's amazing you talk about singing and stuff like that. I absolutely love karaoke. I sing a wee bit myself. But for me, you don't have to be good. Singing isn't about being good.
No, I know.
It's about getting yourself and expressing yourself and having that buzz because it's a buzz. It's a dopamine hit almost. And as I said, you don't have to be able to sing to sing.
Well, in this house, we're the exact opposite, like me and my husband, right? So I'll sing. And I remember one time he was drunk and he started singing "Oh Carol," right? And he's singing "Oh Carol," and he's doing his knees, and my pals and all that were there, and he's like, "I am but a fool." And I looked at him and I went, "Oh my fucking God." You know how sometimes you go into a pub and you hear a singer and it's the worst singer you've ever heard in your life?
Yeah.
He was worse than that, right? He was fucking worse than that. And he was that drunk, he didn't care. And I was mortified for him, right? And so the next day I'm like, "I wait to see this video." He's like, "Don't show me it. Don't show me it." And he's never sung again since.
No.
But
Pity.
he was that bad singer, you know? But it's so funny. So in this house, we're like, I call it, I just say we're mixed race because you know, some support Rangers and some support Celtic. Some can sing and some can't sing. You know, and there's that big mixture. And I said that I had a show last week in Govan. You know, Govan's just like salt of the earth. You know, and I says I in my house. I says we're mixed race. I says, I support Rangers and my man supports Celtic. I says, one of my wings supports Celtic. I says, but the good looking two support Rangers. Half of the hall's like, yeah, and the other half's like, boo, you know.
Uh,
It's all banter. I'm not into any of that bigotry or anything, but I like to have a laugh about it.
you got to, Carol. You got to make things light-hearted because people do make it serious, and it's an excuse to have an argument, to have a fight, to whatever. It's going down that road, but no, you need to have a laugh. It's key. I mean, it's important in life. I mean, you've got to remember.
I don't ever do the bigotry thing. You know, I do a lot of work in Ireland as well, and Ireland sometimes can be really bigoted. You know, like Belfast and Derry, London, Derry. You know, I
Yeah.
have pals that you can't call it Derry; they're offended. You need to call it London Derry, and you're like, for fuck's sake, I'm for Scotland, and we don't care about this shit, right? Maybe years ago, but no, no, we don't actually give a fuck, right? And in actual fact, when you're doing proper Ireland and no Northern Ireland, they don't care either. You know, when I mention things like that, they'll say, "What are they still doing that up there?" And the thing is, we don't hear about it in the newspapers and that because they no longer print it. But I can pockets, we'll call it pockets of Ireland, can still be a wee bit like that, and it shouldn't be like that because you know when I'm over there and I'm doing shows and it's mixed company, nobody cares when they come to my shows, and it's like you know a mammy that loses her son who supports fucking Rangers or is a Protestant Just the exact same as a mammy who loses her son who supports Celtic as a Catholic, and they still all cry the fucking same way, you know. And there's like both sides of the divide, and a lot of people have lost a lot of people in under horrible circumstances, and it's just horrible to listen to some of the stories that their persons that they loved could still be alive, you know. But they women all suffer. It's so grief, and some of the stories are quite harrowing.
No, definitely, and I get like some people fight for a cause or whatever, or what they believe in and stuff like that, but nobody should lose their life for it. You know what I mean, no, nobody should suffer that grief for it. Yeah.
I know, but they do. It's like I was doing a show in Derry one time, and there was a woman that was bringing through her 19-year-old boy who had died. And I had says to her, you know, he's telling me you've still got like an Adidas top belong to him and you smell it all the time. And she says, aye, and she was breaking her heart. And I says, his sister had twins or something like that. And she says, aye. And I was saying a few other things. I says, and you actually sprays aftershave and you smell them. She says, I do. And anyway, I was telling her all these stories and about some of the bad things he'd done. I know. I says, he was a bit of a lovable rogue, this boy. And she says, aye. And see, at the end, and this is what makes my job worthwhile. That woman came up to me and she says, "Can I hug you?" I says, "Of course you can." And she says, "I'm away home for a sleep the night because I know my boy's all right." She says, "I've no slept in years." How nice is that?
Do you know what? That was the question I was going to ask you next. How do you deal with the kind of grief in people's thingies? Listen to that story. It answers it. You're actually giving people a bit of peace. You know what I mean?
It brings comfort to people and it brings closure to people. And so there was another woman in Ireland, and all funny enough, Ireland's a bit weird for me at times. I feel as if it's my home or my second home. Irish are a bit like the Scottish anyway. So there's another woman one time, you know how I said I'd do the question and answering session? And so during that session, I don't normally bring through spirit. It's just questions like, what happens to babies when they die? Do they grow up? You know, I didn't like my dad before he died. Does he still hate me? You know, you got all questions like this. And anyway, this woman, she put her hand up and says, "What's your question?" And she says, "Well, my boy died. My boy died. My Wayne died and he's never come back. And I've been praying to hear from him." And you could see the desperation in her face, you know, absolutely desperate. I've been to hundreds of mediums and they've no brought him in. And I don't know if he's dead or no. And why is he not come through to me? Because my boy would come through. And I could just feel the absolute desperation. And although I'm telling you, I'd shut down at that point, right? Because when I'm done, I'm done. At that point, I just opened back up in my mind. That's one of the few times that I've done it. And I says to Spirit, bring through her Wayne, because she really needs it. And I says to her, I says, it's your boy that's in Spirit. And she says, aye. I says, he was only 8 when he died. And she sat up like that after, and she went, "What?" I says, "Was he 8?" And she went, "Aye." I says, "He's telling me he had an issue with his lungs. He had a ongoing condition, a lung disease. Is that correct?" And she went, "Aye." I says, "I have to tell you, he's with your mammy." And she just burst out greeting. And then like her at the end, she came up at the end, and she's like, "I've waited a couple of years to hear that and to know that he's all right." And she's like, "I can't thank you enough." And that was only a wee 2-minute, you know, your boy's all right, he's with your mammy, he was 8 and there's something in his lungs. And it was that quick. It was like a 2-minute message. And that meant the world to her, the absolute world. And that to me is what my job's all about.
Well, sorry, then I get a bit emotional myself hearing that because obviously having kids yourself and the thought of that kind of thing, I think it's more the thoughts, pal. But no, amazing, Carol. Just that peace you give people, and
But there was one a couple of weeks ago. I was in Dunfermline a couple of weeks ago, and I put it on social media. And it was an older woman, say about 65 or something. And I was kidding her on. I was like, "You've got a lover in spirit." And she's like, "No." She's like, "My man's still alive." I says, "No, but you've got a lover or a boyfriend in spirit." And she went, and I said how he died. And she went, and you can see her in the video, like going like that, putting her drink down and going like that. "Oh, I have. I have." And I says, "I know you have." And then I gave her the message, can't remember what it was, that's not what's important. Anyway, well, it was to her, but gave her the message, and at the end of the night, she came up and she says to me, "I've waited 40 years to hear for him."
wow,
She says, "I've been to umpteen mediums and nobody's ever brought him through. I've waited 40 years to hear for him, and that was her first man, and he had passed away, and then she'd went on to meet her husband. So it was like her first boyfriend type thing, you know. And I think she was only in her 20s. He was only 20, I think I says, when they came through, 26 or something. And
Yeah.
she says, I've waited 40 years to hear for him.
But yeah, you wonder as well, like how long when it comes to the spirit side in it as well. That like what I was going to ask is as well. Obviously, there must be kind of stronger messages than others, and you wonder if there is people wanting to talk as well in the spirit world, but they can't. Do you know what I mean? And 40 years to wait as well. You maybe it's just again about timing. You know what I mean?
I think sometimes it's at the end of the day, it's all about divine timing. Maybe she wouldn't have been ready for it before. Maybe something else going on. Maybe he didn't come through. I don't know. There's never always an answer to that side of it. But all these things seem to happen at the right time, you
Yeah.
know, and it's for even that woman with her 19-year-old son. I don't know why she's went to mediums and he's no come through before. You know, I don't know why. And so that night when she was just sitting in the audience looking all depressed, it's as if to say, fuck, I'm sitting here and there's no coming in again. Well, that's what my thoughts are now, but at the time I didn't know that. And so she might have went to see one or two mediums, and then I was the first person that brought through who she really wanted to hear,
No, I
you
get you.
know. And so you can just see the face. And so she's crying as I'm telling her. I'm like, "Are you all right? Do you want me to continue?" She's like, "No, carry on, carry on." So obviously she's just, it's pure emotional because you've been suffering from grief for such a long time, and then you can just see it all being lifted off.
Yeah,
It's
for
like,
sure.
oh, I is I, because it's you know, you'd be the same. It's like, where's my boy? What's he up to? Is there a heaven? Who's he with? You know, is he solo night? Is he in heaven? Is he away somewhere else? You know, you'd have all these questions. And so for me to bring through somebody and say, you know, your boy's here, his name's, I'm making this up, his name's Kevin, he was 19, had a hand in his own passing, he's with your dad's name's Mick. And you'd be like, fucking hell, that's all true. How would she know that? And so
Yeah.
then, so me providing proof that it is your loved one coming through is what you need to be doing, you know?
Yeah.
And so we don't always get it 100% accurate, but we can get it to the stage where, you know, for me it's a wee bit different because I'll say, I've got your boy here. You know, as your boy's, he's only 19 when he died, is that correct? And she's like, that's my boy. Hold on a minute. He was 19. Whereas if I was to stand up and say something like, I've got a young man coming through, don't know how he dies, but I'm looking for my mammy, it wouldn't be the same as going direct to that woman and saying, I've got your boy here, you know? And so I think that sometimes that's what makes a difference.
Now, when you're not being vague and stuff like that, and kind of leaving it open to them.
Aye, because I always had this agreement, I'll say, with spirit. They used to wake me up at 3:07 a.m. every morning, like rapping on my window, rapping on my bed, and I'd shoot up and I'd look at the clock and it'd be 3:07, and I'd hear my door getting rattled down the stair, and I'm thinking, how the fuck can I look at the clock? And I'm like, I better not run down the stair, and there's nobody fucking here because it's 3:07 in that clock. And I ran down the stair, opened the door, expecting the police to be there because who else is going to chap your door at 3 in the morning? Opened the door, let us have to say, what the fuck you wanting? And there was nobody there, and it was spirit waiting me out my bed. And eventually I'm like, what do you want? What is it you want? And they told me that they wanted me to work for them. And I says, right, I will. I says, but if I do, and I stand up on the stage, I need to know who's coming through, who they're for, what they died of, and I need proof or I'm no fucking doing it. And that was my agreement with Spirit. And so it's always been the same for the past 15 years or something like that.
And so is that how long you've been doing it in, Carol? 15 years, I think you've been.
Professionally on a stage, aye. So, and it's since 2010, something like that, on a stage. But I've been connecting with spirit my entire life. But you know, people, it's quite good because people that's known me for the past is a wee bit like, you know, Carol, I never believed in all that shit. But see, because I know you and I know what you're like, I believe you.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a good thing. But one of my pals, I was on the phone one time, and he turns in and says, because he'd known me for years and didn't know that that's what I'd done, or went on to do that, you know. And he's
Yeah.
like, "Here, Carol," he says, "I never knew you were into all that voodoo shit." And I'm like, "Voodoo shit? What are you talking about?" You know, and that's what he just started laughing. And I'm like, "It's not voodoo shit. Shut up." You
Where's your
know, but
dolls?
yeah.
Where's
It's
your
mad,
dolls?
isn't it? I know, I know. It's like he just says it as it is, and it's just typically him, the person that
Mm.
said it. And I'm
Uh,
like, voodoo shit.
uh,
Is that how you see me? Fucking shut up. You
uh,
know? But
but,
you know, looking back, I've always been into communication because I've always communicated via radio since I was 13.
yeah, there's always been in there, isn't it? Well, the question I was going to ask you was about the fear, but like you spoke about that, you've never really had that because like when I was going to talk to you about fear and stuff like that, but obviously you're not got that because what a lot of with people who do have fear, it stops them, it kind of holds them back, and obviously what I was going to get to as well. Do you feel fulfilled with it? Is it giving you that fulfillment that you're doing? But again,
I think it is when there's people like they mammies that thank me because they've waited years, or you know, there's hundreds of stories I have like that, and so when they people come up and they go, I've waited years for this. You told me what I needed to know. That then it hits you in the soul, you know, it hits you in the heart, and you can't help but feel empathy, and sometimes you feel a lot of their grief and stuff like that as well, although it's their grief. And it's just good closure, and it's good to see, because you know, if somebody comes in, you can see that their life's been burdened. You can see that they're weighed down with all these sorrows and grief. And
yeah,
I swear to God, I just think when you give somebody a reading, it's a really good reading and it hits their soul. They walk out 6 foot fucking tall. You know, they might
nah,
have been like all slumped, torn, depressed when they come in, and they fucking skip out the door. I've had a few like that. It's like, oh my God, you know, and they've skipped out the door. And I think that's when you know that you've done your job.
no, no, definitely, and because I say people talk about riches and stuff like that, but for me, the biggest rich is the fulfillment in life and doing what you love and you're passionate, and you clearly are doing that, Carol.
There was a woman in Maryhill one time, and she messaged me just about 2 o'clock in the morning one night, probably half pissed thinking about it or something. I don't know if she was pissed, but she didn't. Her message didn't look pissed, but in my head, she's probably pissed, right? And she messaged me at 2 in the morning, and she's like, "Carol, I just wanted to tell you." She says, "2 years ago, you gave me a reading, and that reading changed my life,
Wow.
and it totally changed my life and turned me around." And the things that you said, bringing through her mum, I think it was, and she says to me, "You've no idea what that reading meant to me." So sometimes people, as I say, they might go out the door 6 feet taller, and they may never tell you what that reading meant to them.
Yeah,
And then see when they come back 2 years later and say you said this, 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 and this, that's good closure.
yeah,
That's good feedback. And I think it's kind of that makes it worthwhile.
definitely. You're changing people's lives. I mean,
Well, you can see that wee light bulb being turned on. You know,
yeah,
like that woman sitting in the audience waiting on her boy, or the other one sitting in the audience waiting on her 8-year-old child. You can see that wee it's like, what? You know, you can see that light bulb moment. You can just see it switching on. And you can actually see how much, like if I'm doing a big haul, like, so I put one up the night. There was 450 people at my show the other night in Govan. And so the video I put up the night just an hour ago, the woman that I've put up the video, that was me just seeing that video for the first time, because as I'm up on stage, she was away at the back of the hall, and my eyesight's shite at the best of times. I mean, even you look good looking here, right? So, oh my God. So it's like, I couldn't even see that woman's face until I watched that video, because it's somebody else that films it. And so I just watched that video back the night before I listed it up, and I thought, oh fuck, because you can see her getting dead emotional and crying and all that. Whereas I'm standing on the stage, I can't see her tears with fucking 100
yeah,
yards across the hall. You know, it's a massive hall.
yeah.
And so I seen her expression the night for the first time, and I thought, that's really touched her.
Mm. Yeah, got to. That's got man, and that's what it does, isn't it? That's what it does, and as you said as well, like what I was getting for what you were saying earlier, when people are almost in this wee bubble and their with their grief and stuff like that, and it's just when you said that about the 8-year-old and stuff like that, when it's almost like bringing them back to life, and it's just almost like giving them that spark, as you said, you know.
Well, it is because I think that we don't die. I think we just go into the next room or the next
Yeah.
realm or the
Yeah.
next frequency, and I think the soul lives on. So I think the human body dies, but the soul lives on. And I've had too much proof not to believe that that would be the case. And so I think the soul evolves. There's a
Yeah.
book called Many Lives, Many Masters. Dr. Weiss, have you ever read it?
I don't know, but I'll take a note of that.
And it's about reincarnation, and it's about the soul, and it's about, if you believe in reincarnation, it's about the soul being multifaceted and how that we can be reborn. So you may come back here 50 times, and then you may come back 5 times, and you may never want to come back. And it's about the soul experiencing different things. So, like, one time you may come back as an engineer living in New Zealand. Next time you might come back as somebody's wife living in fucking England. Or you may experience that in one lifetime you were a murderer, and the next lifetime you might have been somebody that was murdered. And so the souls appear to be multifaceted and can come back time again.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I don't believe that either. That we die stuff like that, and having the soul and stuff like that is what I believe in as well. But I've never heard it put that way, and just I'd love to that book actually, just to kind of open the
You
mind a
should
bit
read
more.
it. That's a really good go-to book. It's probably about 4 or 5 quid off Amazon or something if you download it. I'm old-fashioned. I like paper books, so I have the originals. But I like to have a paper book in my hand. But I do sometimes read them digitally as well. So you can download it off Amazon for 4 or 5 quid. Many Lives, Many Masters. I think there's 4 books, but the first one's Many Lives, Many Masters. And I think there's 3 books after that. I've only read 2, but the first one's a great book. Great book. And it explains it beautifully. This guy wasn't a believer or anything like it. He was a counsellor, a clinical NLP counsellor or something like that, or a psychotherapist. And through his clients, he had a woman that was a client, and he was like regressing her back to see why she had a fear of water. This woman had a fear of everything. And so he was her therapist. And so he used to put her into like a trance state, and he used to, well, let's find out why you've got a fear of water. One of them turns out she drowned in a previous life.
Oh, wow.
So after they went back to that life and brought her back, there was life lessons to be learned. And so she then never had a fear of water because she knows that won't happen again. And then she had a fear of fire in a previous life. She like got burnt in a fire. She didn't want to have weans. It turns out she died in childbirth in another life. And so it was all these continuations of the soul. And that's how he ended up writing that book.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I need to check that out.
Well, it's a really good book.
I'm kind of listening to audiobooks and but no, I definitely I'll give that a wee watch now. Thank you so much. So obviously reading and stuff like that is something you do, but what I was going to get next to Carol, what about yourself? How do you kind of switch off then? What's your kind of self care? What do you do? What's your go to?
Well, as I says to you, when I walk off that stage, I'm no tuned into spirit, so that's my self-care. And I like to, I do a lot of work during the day. I work in events and stuff like that, my own events. And so it's not just a case of doing shows. These shows have got to be tickets sent out, stuff loaded onto the website, a million and one other things, and that's what I do during the day. And so I like to just go out during the day and go to McDonald's and sit and people watch for an hour.
No, I love that
And then at
myself.
night, sometimes I watch K-dramas, which is Korean dramas. I sit and watch subtitled Korean movies and films and episodes, and it just feel good. Korean dramas are fucking spectacular. Now, when I say that to everybody, they start laughing, and my own Waynes and my family slag me rotten for it, right? And they're like, oh, there's mum watching one of your stupid Chinese films again. I'm like, they're no Chinese, they're Korean. But I do watch some Chinese. And my man came in one night, he's like, is that you watching one? Because I always say to him, it's no Chinese, it's Korean, right? So he came in one night recently and he says to me, is that you watching one of these stupid Korean dramas again? I went, it's actually fucking Chinese, right? You know? And I think I've watched them for that many years, I'm starting to speak the language. And so we were in like Costco one day and there was an Asian family in the next aisle. And I said to my husband, they're Koreans in the next aisle. And he
Oh,
went, how do you know? I says, because I understand what they're saying and I understand the language. He's like, fuck off. I says, I'm telling you. I've watched them for that long. Watched
picking
them
up
for
the
that
accent.
long.
No, it's good. You definitely need to switch off. You need that self care. You need to be looking after yourself as well because you give so much. You know what I mean? We all give so much to our lives, and we need that self love as
You
well.
know, like people can be arseholes at times. Let's not forget that. You know, they really can. And they can be selfish and they can be a million and one other things, but they can be good and all, you know? So sometimes it's good to switch off. And like for the past year, I've also went massive on social media. So for the past 4 weeks, I've had a wee break for social media because I think sometimes that's important as well. And so for the past 4 weeks, I've had people messaging me, how you know on social media? Where are you? What's up? What's happening? You
Yeah,
know, and it's like they notice you're no there. And so I need to get back to it because social media changes that much and
yeah.
that quickly. Lots of things change, but I am back on social media again.
No, good.
But I think sometimes you just need to keep your jammies on, watch a Korean drama, read a good book. And that's what I've done over the past couple of weeks. So I usually have the whole of July off, and that's what I've done. So I've read a book and I've watched a couple of Korean dramas and a couple of Chinese dramas,
Ready for back to get back at it. No, revitalising.
one or two TikTok dramas, and then that's me sorted.
There's
Had
well,
my fill,
there's
had my
well,
fill, way back to work now.
there's more dramas on TikTok, isn't there? No, but no, superb, Carol. And one other thing you said there as well, you mentioned earlier about the karaoke and stuff like that. So, what was your karaoke song?
I've got about 4 or 500. I can sing hunters.
Really? Aye. You don't got a favourite?
What's my favourite to sing? Probably Celine Dion.
Wow.
I'm not saying I sing as good as her, dear fuck, but I can belt out a wee tune. And so I like dancey tunes and I like old fashioned tunes and I like modern tunes and everything, a variety of anything and everything. But if I was singing a karaoke, I'd probably like to sing Celine Dion, Meatloaf, Johnny Cash, country, everything, dance tunes, superstar, you name it, I'll probably fucking sing it, you know? And I'm quite happy to hold on to the mic all night.
No, good because as I said, it's music does that to you. It gives you that good feel about you and stuff like that. And
I was up in Glasgow a few months ago and we were singing the karaoke in an old man's pub. Do you know Glasgow? Do you know the Chongate and stuff like that?
I told Biff and all that
Well,
kind of stuff.
I was up at the ship bank.
Oh
I was
shit!
up at the ship. I was up the ship bank. Now you know it's an old man's pub, and how I fucking ended up there, I don't know. But anyway, it was a good night, good pub, good company. And I was up in the ship bank, and I ended up singing Rod Stewart, and I'm singing to my man, "Have I told you lately that I love you?" and all that, singing about it. And I thought that'll get me a couple of brownie points tonight. He's just sitting laughing. He's like shaking his head. But I'm doing the dancing and all that, you know, and the actions and all that, and it's just fucking
It's like,
queef
oh,
straight out his head.
way off it. Stop it. But nah, definitely. As I said, music does that to you. It's a good feel. It makes you. It's a way of expressing yourself with karaoke as well, and getting that good feelings coming to you. But
I think singing's good for the soul.
oh, 100%, definitely. When you're singing, you're
You know,
happy.
there's a lot of mediums I know, and they can all sing.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, I think. Do you know? I think I've thought about this before. I think good mediums can sing. Fucking, I'm not even joking. I know
Nah,
that's a bit of a weird one, but there's a few good mediums I know, and they all sing.
probably because I'm confident. It's the confidence again, eh?
That may be what it is, because maybe that's what it is.
Because a lot of people probably can hold a tune and stuff like that, but they just don't do it because they've not got the confidence. And to do what you guys are doing, it takes a lot of confidence and
I
yeah.
was in Cyprus one time, right, and I was singing a song, and I got up to sing a song, but just before I got up to sing a song, the Jersey Boys came in because they were in Cyprus, right? They were doing
Okay.
this amphitheatre. So the fucking Jersey Boys came in, and I was in the middle of Coral Bay singing this song, and they're in the row sitting there. And so I'm singing this song and giving it yeehaw, no caring that the fucking Jersey Boys are sitting staring at me, right? And they got up to sing straight after me, and I'm like, oh, fuck. But anyway, as they got up, the guy that was a singer went like, that was really good, you're a really good singer. I'm like, cheers.
Yeah. Follow
Thanks
that,
very
boys.
much.
Follow that, boys.
And I did go and see their show while I was there, which was good. It was a good show.
Ah, brilliant. No, thanks, Carol. So what's next then, Carol? Are you just going to continue doing what you're doing then with the mediums, the shows and that?
I am doing the shows. I have quite possibly get some TV work coming up as well. So I've got a management team, and I've been getting headhunted and interviewed and filming done and all that thing. So that's in the pipeline now. Whether or
Brilliant.
not anything happens out of that remains to be seen. But there's a few things in the pipeline, but nothing signed yet. But it is happening. So I'm doing that, and there will be a book coming out as well. That'll probably be about next year. So that's like the 18-month plan.
But good luck with that, because you deserve it, Carol. You've put the work in. You're out there doing it, and you're getting the rewards for your hard work and your efforts. And I
I think
love
you
that.
need to. It's like some days you just want to switch off, as I say, watch a Korean drama, stein my jammies, put my hair up in a bun, and not even wash my fucking face. You know, we all have days like that. And then the next day you're like, oh, need to work twice as hard. But sometimes you just need to switch off, don't you?
100%. Thanks, Carol. Listen, I've kind of answered you've answered all my questions, and you've been really open.
You're very welcome.
You've been amazing, and I love it. Honestly, thank you so much. Again, learned so much, and thank you.
You're very welcome, and I'll speak to you again. Thank you.
No, thank you.